which will return. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning, it's Monday. I'm John David Wells. What do we do on this broadcast? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. That's not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. And as always, we start this with, well, the news. Time now for the front page. This is a digest of news over the weekend and while we were asleep last night. The border is leading the news today. The CBP, the Customs and Border Patrol, suspends railway operations and repurpose personnel. This being reported by Fox News. U.S. Customs and Border Protection will suspend operations at international railway crossings in 2 Texas cities along the southern border in response to the recent resurgence of smuggling operations using freight trains to move migrants through Mexico and to the border. In a statement released yesterday, CBP officials said beginning at 8 a.m. this morning, the agency's Office of Field Operations will suspend operations at the international railway crossing bridges in Eagle Pass and El Paso. This in order to redirect personnel to assist U.S. Border Patrol with taking migrants into custody. The move comes just days after thousands of migrants were seen on video lined up along railroad tracks as a freight train passed nearly 3 hours south of Eagle Pass, Texas. Border Patrol have been overwhelmed as they've been dealing with unprecedented numbers of migrants, which last Tuesday topped 10,000 in a single day. The week prior, there were reportedly 12,000 migrant encounters on a single day, breaking daily records, and still levels overwhelming agents in the field. For its part, the Texas legislature has taken action. They recently passed a controversial bill that makes crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally a state crime. This is punishable with jail time, and Governor Greg Abbott, who has pushed hard to expand the state's ability to enforce its 1,200-mile border with Mexico, is expected to sign the legislation any day. The bill has drawn national kudos from supporters who say the law gives Texas an additional tool to enforce its portion of the border. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick called it the strongest border security bill Texas has ever passed. In a statement, adding Senate Bill 4 will keep Texans safe. But the legislation has also drawn widespread condemnation from detractors who say Texas has no standing to regulate immigration and the bill could result in racial profiling of residents by law enforcement. Opponents of the legislation are asking the U.S. Department of Justice to sue Texas, saying the Biden administration needs to do more to rein in Abbott's actions on the border and immigration. The Justice Department hasn't publicly responded to that call. Meanwhile, the ACLU says it plans to mount a legal challenge, although none has been filed yet. In the Israeli-Hamas war, 3 hostages were tragically killed by the Israeli military. They tried to use leftover food to create signs for help. This, according to the IDF. The Israeli Defense Forces shared more details about the incident on Friday, which Israeli troops shot and killed 3 Israelis in Gaza who had been taken hostage by Hamas during the October 7th attacks. CNN reports the 3 men had used leftover food to create signs calling for help. The IDF said in a statement released late yesterday, accompanied by pictures. Earlier on Saturday, an IDF official said that the men were killed while waving a white flag, which is a violation of IDF rules of engagement. One of the photos shows a white sheet with the words help and 3 hostages written on the sheet in Hebrew. The IDF said it's reviewing the incident, has notified the families of the hostages with additional findings. For its part, the United States has ramped up pressure on Israel, this being reported from CNN. The U.S. Defense Secretary is meeting with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in Tel Aviv today and will later meet with other government officials. He is seeking a very clear articulation of Israel's assessment of its campaign in Gaza as the humanitarian crisis in the enclave deepens and global calls for a ceasefire grow louder. Israel has been bombarding targets across the enclave following the October 7th attacks. Nearly 19,000 Palestinians have died in the strike, according to Hamas figures that cannot be independently verified. Austin's visit comes as President Biden increases domestic is facing increasing domestic and international pressure to push Netanyahu away from the heavy bombardment of Gaza, which has sparked global calls for a ceasefire. CNN reported early this month that U.S. officials believe Israel could, by January, transition to a lower intensity, hyper-localized strategy that narrowly targets specific Hamas militants and leadership. Out in the waterways around the Middle East, a U.S. warship responded to an attack on a commercial ship in the Red Sea. This from CNN. USS Carney responded today to a distress call from a commercial vessel after it was attacked by multiple projectiles in the southern Red Sea, according to a U.S. military official. The merchant vessel, Swan Atlantic, was attacked at roughly 9 a.m. Sana'a time, the official said. More information regarding what kind of projectiles that were launched and from where were not immediately available, though the attack follows a string of others in recent days by Houthi forces who are funded and trained by Iran on commercial vehicles and vessels in the Red Sea. The attack came as U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is in the region for meetings with senior Israeli officials in Tel Aviv amid ongoing violence between Israel and Hamas. For their part, shipping firms are beginning to react. This from CNN. Oil firm BP said it is suspending all shipping through the Red Sea due to the deteriorating security situation after a series of attacks by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels in recent weeks. Also, shipping firm Evergreen said it's suspending its Israeli importing and export service with immediate effect due to the rising risk and safety considerations. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi forces have been targeting commercial ships in the Red Sea, claiming the attacks as revenge against Israel. The President of the United States was uninjured, but you can't say the same thing about one of his black Tahoes. An SUV crashed into the Biden motorcade. No one was hurt. This from USA Today. A car plowed into a parked SUV that was shielding President Joe Biden's motorcade while the President and First Lady Jill Biden were exiting his campaign headquarters in Delaware. This happened last night. Neither the President nor the First Lady was injured. The security breach happened just after 8 p.m. when President Biden and the First Lady were leaving the Biden-Harris 2024 headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware. Reporters traveling with the Bidens said the First Lady had just said happy holidays to reporters and gotten into a presidential vehicle. Moments after the president responded to a question from reporters, a silver copper sedan with Delaware plates hit an SUV that appeared to be guarding the president's motorcade. Reporters heard a loud bang and saw Biden standing outside his vehicle with a surprised expression on his face. Agents quickly cornered the sedan and pulled their weapons on the driver, who held up his hands while the press was escorted back to their van. President Biden was ushered to his vehicle. The motorcade left the scene at 8:09, arrived back at the president's residence 11 minutes later. President Trump has echoed comments made by Russian President Vladimir Putin about the rottenness of American democracy. This from USA Today. Former President Donald Trump quoted Russian President Vladimir Putin during a campaign rally after the Russian leader earlier this year alleged the former president's criminal indictments show, quote, the rottenness of the American political system, unquote. Trump's, during a Saturday campaign stop in New Hampshire, alleged that President Joe Biden is a threat to democracy, before adding, even Vladimir Putin says that Biden's, and this is a quote, politically motivated persecution of his political rival is very good for Russia because it shows the rottenness of the American political system, which cannot pretend to teach others about democracy. Earlier this month, Trump set off alarms when he mocked questions about authoritarianism and that he would be a dictator only on day one of a second term in office. For their part, Trump supporters not worried about those statements. This from USA Today. Former President Donald Trump drew a torrent of criticism when he told Fox News' Sean Hannity earlier this month he would not be a dictator, except on day one in his second administration. Many attendees at the Trump campaign rally on Saturday at the University of New Hampshire said the comment was a joke meant to provoke his rivals. The voters said they're not concerned Trump would truly lead as a dictator. Quote, he's like a guy with a laser pointer, and the left and the media is a cat, unquote. This from John LeClaire, who drove from Barrington to attend the rally with his brother. Rather, more than a dozen people who had spoken with USA Today outside the rally said they believe the presidency would give Trump enough power to legally accomplish what is most important to them. That ranges strengthening the economy to stopping migration at the southern border and preventing U.S. participation in foreign conflicts. And in sports today, the Cowboys lost last night, but it was a good news, bad news situation. They also clinched a playoff berth. This being reported by USA Today. A little more than 30 minutes before kickoff yesterday, against the Buffalo Bills, the Dallas Cowboys clinched a playoff spot. Some 3 hours later, that was not something that mattered much to them. A 31-10 loss to the Buffalo Bills dropped the Cowboys to 10-4 and set them on a path that could see them needing to win 3 playoff games on the road, barring losses by the Philadelphia Eagles and San Francisco 49ers in the final weeks to get to Super Bowl. That would be 53. 63? 53. Okay, that's 50. That's 60, 50, that's 58. Hi. That was Roman numerals. I forgot to correct it in my copy. They didn't pay much attention to that. Don't care, to be honest, said quarterback Dak Prescott of qualifying for the postseason. Obviously, coming into this thing, the beginning of the year, that was one of the goals. But as we've gotten to the later part of the year and the way we've been handling the season, we knew it was just a matter of time. So we can check it off, but we've got other things to focus on. I've continued to tell you in different times, this is about putting our best performances out each and every week. And today we simply didn't do that. So that's where the concern, and that's what the focus is right now, much more than getting into the playoffs. The Cowboys can still win the NFC East, but will need the Eagles, who play the Seahawks Monday, to lose 2 of their final 4 games while not dropping any of their own. And that is today's front page. Yeah, the Cowboys didn't look very good last night. I was watching the game and I'm going, really? I mean, there was just something about it. It was like the Bills had their number, and the Bills came out to play. They absolutely did. They pushed the Cowboys around all day. There was nothing about it, nothing to argue with on that. They literally pushed the Cowboys around all day long. And that's going to be bad, because if brute force is enough to beat the Cowboys, they're going to find plenty more of it in the playoffs. And yeah, Cowboys have not been a great road team. They're 3-4 on the road up until last night. So I guess they're going to be 3-5 on the road because they lost to the Buffalo Bills. That's not good. If you've got to win 3 playoff games to get to the Super Bowl on the road, I don't know. The Cowboys have got it to go. We'll see, though. By the way, in case you don't know or haven't seen, my bandage is gone. The giant white golf ball has gone off my face. I now have these very attractive regular bandages on there. Underneath there is a really long incision. It's really kind of spooky, actually, but I am so far cancer-free on my face. Let's hope that continues. It would be nice if I didn't have to deal with this anymore, because having your face carved on is not something that's very comfortable. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. By all means, join us. Tell us what you think about the broadcast as we get things rolling on Monday, December 18th, year of our Lord 2023. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, you might want to stick around for this. Sometimes you need a good guy with a gun to stop a savage attack, and sometimes you just need a good guy. This didn't happen in the United States. It happened in the Netherlands, and I'll give you the story coming up in just a couple of seconds. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Good morning to you. I want to say good morning to Yvonne Field, longtime friend and follower of the Wells Report. She is magnificent. She's been a friend of ours for well over 15 years. It's unbelievable to have somebody that cares about your broadcast that much to join you. So we've talked a lot about the advantages of having good guys with guns hanging around. But it's not necessary to have a gun all the time. Sometimes all you need is just the right guy. Just a good guy with a good guy. This from Outkick and a guy named Steve Inman. Steve Inman found this video of this guy who was stalking the outside of a store. And apparently he was armed with either a box cutter or a knife and was pacing back and forth and so on and so on. And then what ended up happening was he made his decision, decided to go into the store and wreak whatever violence he thought he should. And then this happened.
A madman with a weapon in his hand, quite possibly box cutters, who the hell knows, but booyah! Entry is declined by the doorman. Now about to hand out a McKnuckle sandwich buffet. Goes from doorman to floor man as he drops his thumb to the floor and now handing out a freaking season's beatings welcome. The doorman's like, look what you did. Why you gotta make me act like this?
Yeah, that's what you got right there. Uh-huh. Yeah, that was one of those things where you really try not to ever deal with stuff like that. When you find guys like that, I mean, the guy was dressed in a vest. He was obviously a worker at the store. I mean, when you find guys like that, you realize you've just made a huge mistake. Everything about that that interaction, that physical violence, was perfect. Obviously, the guy is an amazingly well-trained person, and I know it didn't look like all that very carefully choreographed dancing that you see in a lot of action movies, but that's actually the way it looks. That's what happens. So the guy tries to go into the store. The first thing that happens is he gets kicked right in the gut with a very straight, very short kick that knocks him on his butt. And then the guy confronts him, just glowers over him and stuff like that. And the guy has a knife. And so he starts waving it. And every time he waves it, the guy in the vest just gets out of the way, just ducks it, including one that was going right to his face. And then a punch. And as the guy was coming in to try to get another slash at the guy's face, a perfect right cross. I mean, perfect. Gone. You see, when I talk about stuff like this, it's really important that you pay attention. You need to learn how to defend yourself, both physically and with firearm. And while you're at it, learn some really, really good first aid. And also keep a first aid kit with you. In my soldiery, I carry what's called an IFAK, which is an individual first aid kit. It is not there for you to save someone else. It is there for you to save you. That is your personal medical kit. Okay, but and they make small ones that can just fit on your belt. They're very, very small, but they're also very, very useful. And just because they're designed to be used on you by you doesn't necessarily mean you can't use it on somebody else. Because at some point in your life, you are going to run across violence. It's going to happen to you. And you need to be ready for it. You just do. And learning how to fight, great idea. There are boxing gyms around, various self-defense organizations that you can contact. And I think you should. Because believe me, the day is coming when you're going to have to defend yourself or someone that you love. So be ready, would you please? But good job, whoever that Dutch guy was. Yeah, I either want him walking with me along a dark alley, or I don't want to meet him in a dark alley because I'm trying to get my face to look better. I'm trying to save my face, and I think he'd probably break it with not too much trouble. This is the Wells Report. I didn't give a right cross to anybody. You weren't paying attention, Yvonne. This is the Wells Report. Stick around in just a couple of seconds. We'll be back with more of this broadcast for Monday morning.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. SB 4. What is SB 4? SB 4 is something the Texas legislature recently passed. It's a controversial bill that makes crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally a state crime. They've been using trespassing law to arrest people, and the Biden administration jumped all over that and said, no, you can't do that. And so that came to a halt. The DPS, the Department of Public Safety here in Texas, our highway patrol, they spent a lot of time putting people in jail, and then the government of the United States, for whatever reason, put the kibosh on it. Now, this bill is controversial, as you might expect. It makes crossing the border into Texas, a state crime. It's punishable with jail time. Governor Greg Abbott is going to sign it here any day now. The bill has drawn national kudos from supporters who say the law gives Texas an additional tool to enforce its portion of the border. This is something that has had to happen for a very long time, especially lately. Tens of thousands of people have crossed this border in the last few days. It's not like it's a small problem. So the kudos came out. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick called it the strongest border security bill Texas has ever passed. It will keep Texans safe, said the lieutenant governor. But the legislation has also drawn widespread condemnation from detractors who say that Texas has no standing to regulate immigration. The bill could result in racial profiling of residents by law enforcement. That seems like a conflation. In other words, they're putting two completely separate things into place. There are plenty of laws in Texas that keep police officers from doing their jobs, which is to make sure that people who are here in Texas are here for legitimate reasons. And for whatever reason, the people, this is a USA Today article, we point out bias on this broadcast. This is bias. This is bias. That it could result in racial profiling of residents by law enforcement is a canard. It's a red herring. It means absolutely nothing. Police officers go out of their way to make sure that they do not racially profile anyone in the state of Texas. Most of the racial profiling reports are based on someone observing who has absolutely nothing to do with what the police officers were doing in the first place. And all they're trying to do is create problems for Texas so that these people, this onslaught can continue without abatement. Now, SB 4, to give you a better idea of what it is, passed both houses of the Texas legislature in November. The legislation mirrors a federal law that makes illegal entry at the U.S. border a misdemeanor, and then an illegal re-entry of the border a felony. Those crimes are codified in U.S. law, Title 8, under Sections 1325 and 1326. The Texas legislation allows law and state enforcement to arrest anyone suspected of crossing the border unlawfully and charge them with a crime ranging from a Class A misdemeanor for the first go-round or a second-degree felony on the second go-round, or any more of those. Those found to have violated the law can be jailed or ordered by a magistrate to return to Mexico. The legislation does not require the governor's signature, although Abbott has said he's going to sign it, possibly as early as today. Senate Bill 4 is set to take effect in March. Now, immigration enforcement has long been the domain of the federal government. USA Today reports that state attempts to challenge or establish immigration laws have failed historically when the legislation is challenged in court. And it's not just Texas. In 2012, Arizona was garnering attention for its immigration enforcement measures. The Supreme Court struck down key provisions of the state's SB 1070 law that established state-level immigration enforcement mechanisms. The court declared most of SB 1070 unconstitutional under the federal government's preemptive power over immigration. This according to a Library of Congress research guide. Observers say SB 4 will almost certainly be challenged in the federal court system. You don't have to be a lawyer to know this is problematic legislation, said Muzaffar Kishti, a senior fellow at the Migration Policy Institute and the director of the MPI's office in the New York University School of Law. This is what I'm talking about. People that have absolutely no idea what's going on in Texas are challenging Texas law. They don't live here. They don't understand what's going on here. They don't see the onslaught. The immigrants that go to New York, that's just a particle. That is a particle of the number of people that come into this country illegally. And New York hit the panic button, asked for federal aid, went absolutely crazy because they had 10, 12,000 people. Well, we had 10,000 people last week and 12,000 people over the weekend in those 2 days. Now, we're not asking for federal support. We're asking for the federal government to get out of our way so that we can do something about this mess. And that is something, of course, for whatever reason, the federal government just does not want to do. That is a violation of the Constitution of the United States. And so, well, now, wait a minute, John David, the federal law preempts state law. Well, yeah, okay. But what if the federal government is not doing its job? What if it's this is modeled on a federal law? This federal law is ignored. They're not doing anything to enforce the border. They're not doing anything to enforce their own laws. That's unconstitutional. The federal government does not get to dictate policy to the states in violation of the Constitution or the U.S. Code. So I'm trying to figure out just exactly why any court, including the Supreme Court of the United States, would find that the federal government has some kind of a domain or a dominion over the border of the United States when they do not do their job, which is plainly called for in the Constitution. I have no idea where this comes from. Do you? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. This is what the USA Today article talks about. If the federal government has occupied an area, then there is no role for states and localities. Even the Supreme Court has made clear in the last 2 or 3 decisions that the critical thing to assess immigration measures is by the foreign policy implications. That's why it's the federal government that has primacy. Immigration is akin to foreign policy. Well, that's fine, but somebody has to argue the point. The federal government has this law. Texas passed a state version of the same law. Therefore, the federal government is in breach of its constitutional mandates and certainly refusing to enforce its own law. You can't do that. You simply can't do that. The laws in the U.S. Code were passed by the Congress, both the House and the Senate. They were signed into law by the president. That means that the executive branch has to execute those laws. Can't just decide to, can't just to say, well, it's prosecutorial discretion. Wrong. They are to enforce the laws on the books. If indeed the federal government wants to change those laws, then they have to go back through the process of legislation one more time. That's how this 3-part government works. And I have absolutely no understanding why the judicial branch of this government would see fit to allow the executive branch of this government not to do its job. I just don't understand it. Are we a nation of laws or are we a nation of politics? Because the reason for not enforcing this law is political. And that, by the way, is not something we want to go. We don't want to get anywhere closer to a nation of politics than we already are. We just don't. It's a mess. Politics poisons everything it touches. There is no such thing as a sovereign nation without a secure border. There just isn't. And why in heaven's name would this be the case? I don't understand. And I don't think you understand either. I don't think it's understandable. I think it's plainly absurd. It's plainly absurd, absolutely useless in every possible respect. Worse than useless, it is the government of the United States violating its own law. Other opponents of the legislation are asking the U.S. Department of Justice to sue the state of Texas, saying the Biden administration needs to do more to rein in Abbott's actions on border and immigration. Well, how about somebody doing something to force the federal government to enforce its own laws? The Justice Department, by the way, has not publicly responded. No one has actually filed a complaint against the law, although the ACLU says it plans to. The ACLU says, quote, the Texas legislature can't override federal immigration law and replace them with outlandish schemes of its own invention. It's not an outlandish scheme. It's the same law passed by the federal government. It's the same law. The likely battle could reverberate nationally in an election year in which migration at the U.S.-Mexico border is shaping up to be a central issue. And it should be. It should be. If the current government of the United States refuses to even follow the Constitution of the United States, do we actually have the United States? You can't set aside the government. You can't set aside the Constitution for the sake of your politics. Now, State Representative David Spiller, he's a Republican who helped draft the legislation, said the law is designed to withstand a legal challenge and won't result in racial profiling by local and state law enforcement. It would be very difficult to say this is racial profiling. It's not, Spiller told the All Politics, it's the All Politics podcast on their November 29th episode. Quote, "It's whether someone has the elements of this offense. We're not going after somebody that's been here 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. We're not going after someone's grandmother that's been here for 50 years. Most of the enforcement, as I've said, 95% of it would be within 50 miles of the border," said State Representative Spiller. "Many of the cases will be observations, people seeing them cross. It's not that you're going to stop somebody who's maybe a little dirty, maybe a little disheveled, hanging around, not knowing what to do next. It's not going to be somebody walking up to those people and saying, 'Hey, show me your papers.' It's going to be, okay, we just saw that person come across. That person is going to get charged in state court." It's unclear how enforcement of SB 4 will impact people living in the cities and towns along the Texas border with Mexico, including the majority Hispanic residents of cities within that 50-mile zone, like El Paso, McAllen, Brownsville. Hundreds of thousands of people crisscross the U.S.-Mexico border lawfully each day. That is absolutely true. It's not those that this law is designed to work on. It's the people that are literally cutting holes in the fence. They're literally cutting holes in the fence and bringing people through for profit. And, of course, they're being accepted into this nation for politics. El Paso Texas Sheriff Richard Wiles held a press conference at the county jail to say he believes the legislation will damage community relations, burden local taxpayers, and crowd county jails. This is a sheriff speaking. Quote, "We have pushed community policing and laws like these really work to erode the relationship that we have, and laws like these really erode the relationship we have with our community." Well, I'm sorry, if you're living in Texas and you happen to believe that everybody else that's living everywhere else on the other side of the Texas-Mexico border should live in the United States without having to go through the proper procedures, I'm sorry, you're wrong. I mean, community relations set aside. If that community wants these people to move in here, then that's fine, as long as they can get a law that says it's okay to. That means you have to go to the Texas legislature, and you have to do that process. Then you have to get the governor to sign it. That hasn't happened. I'm not really concerned about Sheriff Wiles and his community relations at this point. That border's wide open. I've seen it for myself twice. I've seen it for myself. The depravity, the smuggling, the human trafficking, the human smuggling, totally different things, is just, it's outrageous. The savagery on that border cannot be politely discussed. It simply can't. But it is savagery. Savagery. And that the federal government will not only not do their job, but actually stand in the way of people who want to do their job? Are you kidding? This is not going to stand. Sure as hell's not going to stand in Texas. It's going to be a situation here where the people of Texas are going to have to say, okay, what do we do? What do we do? There have been an awful lot of people talking about secession. It's not necessarily secession. But what if Texas would say, for example, I don't know, stop playing ball with the federal government? Get your guys out of our state. Get your guys out of our state. Keep your money. We don't want it. Texas is a powerful enough state. to be able to handle our own business. And if the government of the United States wants to split this union, they can, because all they have to do is just stop doing their jobs, which they have. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells, covering breaking news at this particular moment. ABC is reporting as of 9 minutes ago that Pope Francis, the leader of the world's Catholics, the Pope of the Catholic Church, has formally signed off on allowing Catholic priests to bless same-sex couples. A document from the Vatican's Doctrine Office released today details the declaration, which states in part, when people ask for a blessing, an exhaustive moral analysis should not be placed as a precondition for conferring it. For those seeking a blessing, should not be required to have prior moral perfection, unquote. In October, the Pope publicly responded to cardinals who questioned his affirmation of the LGBT community in the Catholic Church, suggesting it may be possible to bless same-sex unions. This is a developing story. It's brand new. It's 9 minutes old. And we're keeping our eyes open. Thanks very much to ABC for being so good as to share that with us here on the Wells Report. Mary and Jeremy Cox are devout Christians who believe that children should be raised based on their sex at birth, and the use of pronouns or names inconsistent with their biological sex is both immoral and harmful. This being reported by USA Today. The Anderson couple, they're Anderson, Indiana, that's where they live, clashed with their teenager who is a transgender girl. The family's dispute that started with the Indiana Department of Child Services over the care of their teen is now the focus of a case that could go before the United States Supreme Court. at issue, according to the Cox's petition, asking the court to take their case, is whether they have the right to raise their family how they see fit, and whether a court order keeping them from talking to their children about their beliefs on sex and gender violates their free speech rights. The case touches on some of the most controversial issues in Indiana, where conservative lawmakers have passed legislation targeting transgender rights, and LGBTQ plus advocates have turned to the courts to challenge some of those laws. The issue of parental rights has also gained political momentum, particularly among Republicans, over the last few years, focusing on issues like vaccine requirements, school curricula, gender-affirming care for transgender youth. At the heart of the case is the rift between the Coxes and the teenage child over gender identity, and an Indiana court decision to remove her from her parents' custody, partly because of a severe eating disorder that could get worse if she's returned home, where she felt unsafe, this according to court records. A disagreement between the parents and child is not a reason to remove the child from the home, the Indiana Court of Appeals said in 2022, that kept in place a Madison County judge's decision to remove the teen, identified in courts as AC, from her parents' home. But the appeals court added, this is an extreme case where the child has reacted to a disagreement with parents by developing an eating disorder and self-isolating, which seriously endangers the child's physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Joshua Hirschberger, the Cox's attorney, said the case challenges the arbitrary and almost absolute power that courts have over parental rights. Fit parents have the right to raise their children according to their beliefs and best judgment, said Hirschberger. The Coxes lost custody of their then 16-year-old in 2021 after the Indiana Department of Child Services petitioned a Madison County court alleging the teen's physical and mental condition was endangered by her parents' actions. DCS received a report alleging AC was thinking of harming herself because of verbal and emotional abuse over her gender identity, this according to court records. An investigation by a case manager found the teen had been suffering from an untreated eating disorder, that her parents had pulled her from school and discontinued her therapy, and that she was thinking of harming herself, according to court records. The case manager's report also found the teen's mother used vulgar and demeaning language toward her. The Coxes deny the allegations. Hirschberger said their child is a teenager. They're having difficult but appropriate conversations with their child. This is serious. This is absolutely serious. There are child protective organizations in every state in the union. And those people at least have to go to a court to get some kind of a judgment. But based on what is something that is, in my view, gender dysphoria is a psychological / psychiatric problem requiring prompt medical care. For whatever reason, that prompt medical care is being held up by these organizations, once again, that have nothing to do with this particular family. Once your child decides that they're not the gender that they currently possess, then anything you say to try to convince them otherwise is interfering with their choices. Excuse me? Sorry? I didn't have many choices in my house when I was 16. I mean, I just didn't have that many choices. I was living in my dad's house, and I knew his rules like the back of his hand. And I'm just telling you that regardless of what someone outside might think, I lived through that, okay? Could someone have made a case that I was being parented badly? Okay, I guess. But I had a perfect childhood. Perfect. Up to and including the things that, yeah, did involve demeaning language. Sometimes it was vulgar. Conversations Dad and I had, well, they were kind of salty. But all I can tell you is that the courts don't get to start interfering in the family unit. Executive branch agencies of the state or nation cannot involve themselves in the family life in these United States. Hour number 1 in the books, hour 2 next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report. And make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon. And don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air. And whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. It's Monday, the 18th day of December, year of our Lord 2023. And what do we do on this broadcast? We report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary, but that's not news. Commentary is opinion, yours and mine, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. It's the Wells Report. How do you debate? Well, you go to our chat room. You can find that at Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Patreon, and Rumble. And there are people watching us on Rumble. Hi, Rumble. I'm glad you're here. Patreon will be up a little bit later on in the day, and people have been watching that. As a matter of fact, I've been surprised at the number of people watching this broadcast. Thank you very much. By all means, support us. Give us those thumbs ups. They matter. They absolutely do. If you think this show has value, share it with your friends. And whatever you do, make sure you support the advertisers because they support us, and that's how the whole chain works. So there's a headline on the front page of USA Today. I'm going to read it to you. Lindsey Graham says he has not seen smoking gun evidence in the Republicans' Joe Biden impeachment investigation. That is incorrect. That is not a true statement. And I'm going to prove it to you here in just a couple of minutes. Senator Lindsey Graham, so says USA Today, the Republican from South Carolina, yesterday appeared to brush off House Republicans' impeachment investigation into President Joe Biden. Asked about the push on Meet the Press, Graham had some very interesting things to say. And I'm going to bring them to you right here, right now, because, well, I can. And I hope you pay attention to this. This is what Lindsey Graham actually said on Meet the Press regarding the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. Check this out. Check this out. Come on, computer. There you go.
Grassley of Iowa said that he does not see any evidence, quote, that the president is guilty of anything. Do you agree with him? Is there any evidence so far?
You know, I haven't really been paying that much attention to it. They have to prove that President Biden somehow financially benefited from the business enterprises of Hunter Biden. We'll see.
Have they done it yet, in your mind?
If there were a smoking gun, I think we'd be talking about it. But, you know, the narrative that Hunter Biden presented is falling apart. The idea that Joe Biden knew nothing about the business dealing is falling apart.
You see, that is not Senator Graham agreeing with his colleague, Senator Chuck Grassley. That's not what happened just then. As a matter of fact, what happened was, and I once again, I'm not able to actually put this together in my head insofar as it just doesn't make any sense to me. As far as I know, Lindsey Graham didn't say anything about agreeing with Chuck Grassley. What Chuck Grassley said was that he hasn't seen that. And I've got that I got that for you here coming up in just a couple of seconds. as I seem to be able to fight with my computers based on issues that really don't have much to do with anything that we're trying to get accomplished. It's just one of those things. And all of this was working earlier. It's fantastic. I just love it when this happens. And I really can't explain it. Thank you very much. All right, now you're connected. So do your job, please. Thank you. No, you're not going to do it, huh? Well, okay. Let's see if I can do it another way. Let's see if I can get this to do this another way. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So Senator Chuck Grassley, being reported on the Hill, said that he has seen no evidence President Biden was involved in his son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. I'm going to take the same position I've taken since 2019, that all I can say is there's some indication, maybe some compromise with China particularly, but I have no evidence of it. This, according to Chuck Grassley, speaking with CNN's Manu Raju. This happened Wednesday of last week. He continued saying the facts haven't taken me to the point where I can say the president is guilty of anything. In point of fact, that's true. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be over here. In point of fact, that's absolutely true. No one has seen any evidence that has been presented in an official proceeding that ties the president to this money. Is there an awful lot of smoke? Yeah. Yeah, there sure is. Does that mean there's a fire around there somewhere? Yes. Yes, it does. But the mainstream media seems to keep trying to push this forward, but the people that are investigating the president of the United States are actually investigating the president of the United States. They're actually investigating. They have evidence. They have shared some of it with us. But that evidence isn't real until it's presented in an official proceeding. This evidence should have been followed up on by the DOJ. The DOJ didn't do so. In fact, did the exact opposite. That is malpractice. That is misconduct. That is absolutely outrageous. And so what's left? Well, the political pursuit is what's left. And as I have said over and over and over, politics poisons everything, including a rational, objective, fair investigation of the President of the United States, Joe Biden, in this case. And I got to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not gonna jump into, oh my God, President Biden is just absolutely compromised and he's absolutely taking bribes and he's absolutely this and he's absolutely that. No matter how hard the mainstream media tries to push that narrative, only to discredit it. But then we have this article from USA Today. Well, Lindsey Graham agrees with Senator Grassley. No, what he said was they have to prove the president somehow financially benefited from his business enterprises of Hunter Biden. And then he said this, we'll see. Now, this was all over X all over the weekend. I mean, Lindsey Graham, my God, he's just a rhino. He's just this, he's just that. No, wait a second. No, Lindsey Graham is being smeared here. Republicans have alleged the president financially benefited from his foreign business dealings, but that's all there are. That's all they are, just allegations. And yeah, when it was President Trump's to be in this particular political barrel, then obviously, well, the accusations are enough. Well, no, they're not. They weren't true. That wasn't true then. It's not true now. There has to be an investigation. One is going on. And yes, there is now an official impeachment inquiry. Does it bother me it's happening during an election year? Yeah, sure does. But then on the other hand, we're through the looking glass, are we not? I mean, the DOJ spent much of the Trump administration investigating him for something that was, for all intents and purposes, and virtually proven in every way, a hoax. They got to the end of the Mueller investigation with nothing. And then they tried to spin it so that there was something, but it wasn't anything that we could do anything about. Well, that didn't matter because they went ahead and impeached him for it anyway. And it fell completely on its butt, just as it should have. It was a political impeachment, not an impeachment over high crimes and misdemeanors. This appears to be a bit different. But once again, the Republicans haven't moved forward with any of this. The only thing they're moving forward with is an investigation the DOJ should have been doing this whole time. In fact, the government of the United States, through the IRS, actually was investigating the president, and they were stopped by the DOJ. In this broadcast, we've learned an awful lot of things. The law enforcement in the United States is based on politics, not what's written in the United States Code. That's unbelievably dangerous. It's absolutely unbelievably dangerous. Now, the South Carolina lawmaker, according to this article in this biased article in USA Today, hit out at Hunter Biden, the president's son. Graham said Hunter's argument that his father didn't know about his business dealings is falling apart. That was in that piece of video I just showed you. Hunter Biden last week defied a House subpoena and used his congressionally mandated trip to Capitol Hill to lash out at Republicans in rare public comments. It's shameless, Hunter Biden said outside the Capitol building. I have to say it. I have to say it. Hunter, you can't accuse anybody of being shameless. Can't. You just can't. Because if there's anybody on this planet that's shameless, it's you, buddy. It's absolutely you. I mean, come on. I'm still trying to figure out how come you're not in jail already for child porn. I'm really trying to figure that out. You know, I just don't understand it. I mean, there's a video of Hunter Biden sharing cocaine with his underage niece. I don't think they were wearing clothing at the time. What is that? Is that a question that's been answered? No. No, not at all. There are an awful lot of problems here. And the investigation that should have resolved all of these did not happen because of a political DOJ and the idea that misconduct among high Democrat public officials can circumvent the law of the United States. This from the same party that stood up and brazenly said that no one is above the law. Oh, yeah? No one's above the law, huh? Well, that's baloney. It's absolute baloney. And by the way, if you disagree with any of this, call me. 817-379-2172. Give me a buzz. 817-379-2172. Just because I say it, by the way, doesn't mean that it's absolutely the way it is. I don't have that much of an ego problem. But what I will say is this is the way it looks to me. How does it look to you? Again, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. And so the mainstream media is working overtime to do what they possibly can to try to rush this investigation for propagandist effect. They keep trying to push people into making comments they're not ready to make. Grassley is not a fool. He has brought up several disturbing things, especially around China, that look like they have the Biden family fingerprints all over them. But he is not going to say, for the record, that President Biden is guilty of anything. And you got to keep something in mind. That was not the case when people were trying to chase down President Trump during his administration. They just say anything they had to say. up to and including lying to the American people. And there were a lot of people in the Democrat Party responsible for that. Have they been held to account? No. So we have this two-tiered legal system, don't we? And we have a biased media that we just proved, don't we? And what can we do about that? Well, there's an election coming up less than a year from now, and we had better change the power structure in Washington, D.C., or they will consolidate that power, and we'll never see our country again. We'll just never see our country again. The Wells Report in progress. It's Monday. Back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
It's the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. We've talked an awful lot about the political climate in these United States. I'm not getting into the garbage of politics. We don't spend an awful lot of time talking about the this and that of politicians yammering at each other. We talk about the actual frank effects that American politics has on this country. There are various groups of people in this country. There's the progressive left, which is blatantly anti-American, anti-constitutional, and wants a totalitarian society for all of us to live in. And then there are people who are decidedly Americans. They call them the Freedom Caucus. These are people that went to Washington, D.C. to reestablish the United States of America and something that is more conformant with the actual Constitution of the United States. And then there's this other group. There's this group of people we call moderate Republicans. And moderate Republicans go by other names, neocons, and so on. They are quiet when they should be talking. And they talk when they should be quiet. And they are ulterior. Mitch McConnell is a perfect example of that. And the machine that built people like Mitch McConnell still exists. And the people of the United States are tired of it. That's why they elected Donald Trump in 2016. But these people still remain. And I'm not willing to say this out loud at this particular moment, but Nikki Haley looks like she's one of them. What do moderate Republicans do? What they do is facilitate the Democrat agenda. But they do so all the while saying they're not doing it. That's the dishonest part of it. They won't do anything when the Democrats and they say, well, we just don't have the political power to do it. Then, of course, when we give them the political power to do it, they don't stop them. They don't do that because politics is a coin. There's a left side of the coin and the right side of a coin, but politics is the coin. It's the coin of the realm. Nikki Haley, the other day, took a shot at former President Donald Trump for his response during the January 6th attack. I think January 6th was a terrible day. I think it's the tone at the top that matters. This was on ABC News This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Here's the quote. When President Trump had the opportunity to stop it, when he had the opportunity to say the bully pulpit matters, people listen, he didn't. I hate it for the people who were there supporting him. I hate it that for those of us that were watching it. That is a Democrat talking point. That is the basis of the second impeachment of Donald Trump. Haley has criticized the former president, said she still thought Trump was the right president at the right time, but heading into 2024, Trump wants chaos again. No, the chaos wasn't Trump's. The chaos was all the people around Trump that worked very hard to sabotage the Trump administration because he wanted to move forward with an American agenda. They wanted to move forward with a politics agenda. Now, Nikki Haley has made a huge mistake here. What she's done is she has essentially turned herself into a Democrat politician arguing for the demise of Donald Trump. She's not talking policy here. She's not talking policy. What she's talking is elect me because I'm better than him. The Democrat Party is going to try that with the Republicans because they don't have a record they can run on either. So they're just going to say that the Republicans are terrible and awful, and they just want to be authoritarian figures. In other words, accusing their political opponents of what they themselves are guilty of, which is a well-worn way to destroy countries. It's working beautifully. It's working beautifully here in these United States. But this is going to be an election where people have to look at the candidates and see them for what they actually are, as opposed to how they actually feel about them. Nikki Haley made a mistake. She's shown herself to be using Democrat talking points against her political rival. That's going to hurt her. That might indeed stop all of the momentum she theoretically has. It's the Wells Report. We'll be back with more coming up in just a
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Hi, I'm John David Wells. Vladimir Putin made some comments about the state of democracy in the United States. Yeah, he's a bad guy, I guess. You know, there are an awful lot of people that say he's a bad guy. But I spend a lot of time talking to people who have lived in Russia and pay very close attention to what's going on in Russia. And we're not getting the full story. Now, I can't confirm what these people tell me, which is why I haven't reported it. But I'm not standing up for Vladimir Putin. But when someone takes a look at the American democratic system and sees what they see, what we all see, and comments on it, that gets my attention. And in this case, it's Vladimir Putin. A little bit of background. Remember, when Joe Biden was campaigning in 2020, or not campaigning, depending on your point of view, what he said is that we're going to return normalcy into the United States government. The adults are going to take over. We're going to get rid of this crazy loose cannon, and we're going to get back to the way America handles things, because Donald Trump has embarrassed us in front of the entire world. Really? Well, here's what a part of the entire world has to say about our current political situation in the United States. This is Russian President Vladimir Putin. Sorry for Trump prosecution. What is going on in present circumstances is very good for us, because it shows the rottenness of the U.S. political system that can't claim to teach others democracy. What happens to Trump is politically motivated, prosecution of a political rival. I think there won't be principal changes in the U.S. foreign policy toward Russia, no matter who would be elected president. But we hear Mr. Trump is saying that he will solve burning issues in a couple of days, including the Ukrainian crisis. I cannot help but rejoice. That is good. But generally speaking, although he was blamed for connection to Russia, that is a complete nonsense and codswallop. Yeah. So that is the way Vladimir Putin sees it. And there are an awful lot of other people that are seeing it. And you know what? They're really nervous about what the United States is doing, especially politically. As a matter of fact, it has been a very serious issue, because not only have the stylings of American government been noticed by these other countries, but the stylings of American government has also put us in a situation where our credit rating is beginning to suffer, all because of the silliness involved in what's going on in the United States with regard to how we handle our budgeting, how we do all those things. Hang on a second here. I'm getting back into the computer because it froze. And so the idea, for example, that what we have here is we have a circumstance whereby all right, come on now. We have this circumstance whereby people are noticing it's horrendous, and it's really not good in any way, shape, or form. Hang on, two shakes. This thing, yeah, I'm having a little trouble with this, and I don't know why. I just don't know why. I'm going to have to call Apple Care when all this is over with to be able to get this worked out. I'll do that before tomorrow's show. And I'll get back to you on it. So, so this being said, it's hard for me to multitask when I'm doing different kinds of communications. And there we go. All right. So why won't my mouse work? That's a very good question. I don't have any idea why. This is a very interesting, unique kind of circumstance here. Here's what's going on. The computer freezes every now and then when I move video around, et cetera, et cetera. It just overwhelms it a bit. And when that happens, it creates kind of a mess for me. I'm going to have to reset it again. But getting back to what I'm talking about. So Vladimir Putin is noticing that there is a serious problem with the United States political system. And credit ratings have noticed. The credit rating agencies have noticed this. And it's screwing us up. And if we don't jump on it, if we don't do something to change this policy, these policies that are currently making us look stupid, we're going to have a real problem here. And we don't need that right now. We just don't. And so we find ourselves looking at all this and hoping for the best, and we're not getting it. Okay. Yeah, this is annoying. This is truly, truly annoying. And yeah, my mouse isn't working. Okay. I have a solution. This drives me nuts. This truly does. This is like, seriously, guys? Did you really have to do this? Watch this. Here we go. Yeah. So I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, and then I'll do this, and then I'll do this. And then I will do, let's see, get rid of that, get rid of this, get rid of, let's see, no, I don't want to restore the pages because that's the problem. And so there you go. And I'm going to get rid of this. Now, so you just saw what President Putin said about the American political system. This was something that happened. This was something that happened during a campaign stop for President Trump the other day. Here's what he had to say regarding this circumstance.
Biden's, and this is a quote, politically motivated persecution of his political rival is very good for Russia because it shows the rottenness of the American political system, which cannot pretend to teach others about democracy.
Yeah. And so that's what he had to say. Well, immediately everybody said, and because this is the prevailing narrative with regards to President Trump, that he wants to, for whatever reason, be an authoritarian government official. They've been comparing him to Hitler. They've been comparing the MAGA movement with the Nazi movement, which is plainly ridiculous. I was on X the other day, and somebody was talking about how they put up a meme that said that that MAGA was essentially the Nazi organization of the United States, which is bogus. The MAGA movement is not the Nazi movement. Make America Great Again is not anything that is anti-American. And that's just simply the case. And for whatever reason, that's been the prevailing political narrative. And so we have two presidents. They are spending time talking about all this, and they're saying, well, this is the case that we have. Well, no, it's not. This is the willingness of the people of the United States to be led around by the nose by the political process. And it's ridiculous. And it's damaging. It's hurting this nation. And all I can say is that if we don't do something about it, like I've been saying, we're going to pay the price. And that price is going to be ugly as conceivable by anyone. So President Trump, at his campaign situation, is being cast in the role of trying to be a wannabe Putin. Well, that's not what Donald Trump is. In fact, if Donald Trump wanted to be an authoritarian leader, he would have already done it. He has been the president of the United States once already. And so when you have all that going on, you wonder, well, what the people see. What are we going to do? Are we going to be able to see through all this, or are we going to be led around by the nose by a biased mainstream media? I mean, I just told you that people have been assigning to Lindsey Graham what was said by Senator Chuck Grassley. This willingness to smear these lines and to blur the reality is what the mainstream media does. Indeed, you wouldn't be here listening to what I'm saying right now if the mainstream media was doing its job properly. You know there's a problem, and so you show up here. So former President Trump drew a torrent of criticism when he told Fox News' Sean Hannity earlier this month he would not be a dictator except on day one. He said he would close the border and he would drill, baby, drill. Well, that was turned into this gigantic mess. And so, what do the people of the United States think? Attendees at the Trump campaign rally Saturday at the University of New Hampshire said the comment was a joke meant to provoke his rivals. The voters said they're not concerned that Trump would truly lead as a dictator. I'm not concerned about it either. We've already seen him lead. He's not a dictator. Now, does he shoot himself in the foot a lot? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that here in just a couple of minutes. Well, what we have to do is we have to say this. These people are seeing through it. At least they say they are. And John LeClaire, who drove from Barrington, New Hampshire to attend the rally with his brother, said he's like a guy with a laser pointer. And the left, the mainstream media, and the political left, is a cat. In other words, he's toying with the left. More than a dozen people who spoke with USA Today outside the rally say they believe the presidency would give Trump enough power to legally accomplish what is most important to them. That ranges from strengthening the economy to stopping migration at the southern border and preventing U.S. participation in foreign conflicts. That is all. Those are things that people believe are the right things to do. Shelley Temple, who volunteered for the Trump campaign in New Hampshire in 2016, attended the rally Saturday, said the nation's energy production and border security are among her priorities in 2024. Respectfully, those are good priorities. We need to produce enough energy to be able to drive down the world price of oil. That's not what's happening now. When the world price of oil drops, so does the amount of money we spend on our gasoline to drive our cars. Now, you have to keep something in mind here. The price of gasoline has come down over $1, and that's good. But that was not the case. They're still paying an outrageous amount of fuel for Southern California, which is as mobile a society as anywhere on the planet. And they're spending a huge amount of money just getting from home to work and back every day that they normally didn't have to spend. That spending, that lack of spending, is roiling the economy. A lot of economic experts believe that there's going to be a recession next year, no matter who's in power. And it's because people are slowing down. People are not spending as much money on things that keep the economy going because they have to keep their own personal economies going. They pay more for electricity. They pay more for food. They pay more for fuel. They pay more. And if you're like me, we just don't have unlimited funds for that kind of stuff. That's just the way that is. So Shelley goes on to say, I don't see that as being a dictator. I see that as being a leader protecting his country. I like a president that respects the Constitution. It's absolutely essential in my view. Let the government work the way it's supposed to. Let there be checks and balances. The interpretation of Trump's comments among supporters at his Saturday rally diverges from the rising alarm among authoritarianism experts. Really? Well, who matters in this country? Who matters in this country? The people or the experts? The experts are playing politics. The people are trying to get a better country. Which of those two groups should you pay more attention to? Two things about Trump. One, he often says what he means and often says it in the form of a joke, said Mabel Berezin. She's a sociology professor at Cornell who studies nationalist and populist political movements. The second part is, I don't think we should discount him. Trump's allies are planning to bypass some of those checks and balances, Berezin said. Even if consolidation of power wouldn't happen overnight, Trump on the campaign trail has proposed a series of measures that would grant the president additional powers. I think that's one of those classic Trump things that have two meanings. There's a grain of truth in it. It's also a joke. Trump's most outrageous statements are worth paying attention to. Now, the president of the United States has talked about how immigration is poisoning the blood of America. And people say, my God, that's Hitlerian. No, it's not. It's an unfortunate choice of words by the president of the United States, and I wish he'd be better at it. More in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. A quick summary of what we've been talking about. The world is noticing that the United States is malfunctioning politically. Vladimir Putin just flat says that Donald Trump has not been a vassal of Russia. He says it's garbage. And he means it. President Donald Trump was very seriously tough with Russia, a lot tougher than the current president of the United States, in my opinion. And he understands that Donald Trump is probably a way out of the Ukrainian-Russia war, and he's looking forward to that happening. But now, because the government at large is so frightened of Donald Trump, after all they've done to him to try to ruin his presidency and now try to disqualify him from continuing that presidency, they are saying anything. We're slightly less than a year away from the election. What in heaven's name are they going to come up with next? After you've compared a guy who's running against you with Hitler, what's your next move? Just how ridiculous does this have to get? I mean, they're not speaking the truth. The people of the United States are serious about this government doing work for them, not for itself. And if Donald Trump is what it's going to take to make that happen, I'm saying okay. Now, I'm not sure yet. I haven't made my choices yet. All I can tell you is that what I'm seeing is I'm just giving you a reading of what I see in the American people. The government is on the wrong track. 70% of us believe it. That same 70%, or maybe a different 70%, believe that the border is unsafe. I believe they're correct. Donald Trump got into office and made America energy independent. Although people say, no, that was President Obama. No, I remember paying the price for gas during the Obama administration and paying the price for gas during the Trump administration. And I believe it's Trump policy that made that happen. And besides, the only people that are saying that President Obama made energy independence happen are people that are Obama acolytes. Okay. I look at gas prices. And so Donald Trump is not Hitler. Donald Trump is not an authoritarian. He makes mistakes in what he talks about. I wish he would stop, because he keeps throwing fire on this authoritarian. He keeps throwing wood on the authoritarian fire. And I wish he'd stop. I wish he'd just talk to us as the President of the United States. I wish he would do that. I think that would probably help him immeasurably. So the other day, my wife found this picture of me with my sons Mitchell, Corey, and John. We're all sitting on the couch and we're all clumped together and everybody's got big smiles on their faces, and it was wonderful. I sent it to my kids. And I told them how proud I was of them and how proud I was as a father when that picture was taken. Well, there was another set of pictures that were taken because of a father and what he saw his sons do and accomplish. And it was Tiger Woods with his son Charlie. They were playing the PNC Championships, where golf pros and their relatives, sons, daughters, and so on, show up to play a golf tournament. And Charlie Woods has game. He does. But what's great about what you're about to see is the reaction of his father, Tiger. Check this out.
Just got to measure the run out. That's a good looking shot here.
Come on. Yes.
Think we won't see that on some of the highlight shows tonight around the country?
Look at that smile. Dad in the background clapping. That is the look you see on a father's face when his son or daughter did something amazing. Absolutely amazing. There's just so much joy in it. And I'm glad the Woods family shared that with us. His daughter Samantha was essentially being the caddy for, I believe, Charlie. And she would sit there and talk with her father and so on. And you could see the love and family dynamic around them. And I just thought that was a wonderful thing to show you. Kind of an extra addition to your Christmas stocking when you see a father's love for his children. Good for Tiger. He's had a tough life. I mean, tough as you can be for being a near billionaire and being one of the greatest in his job titles that anybody has ever seen. But he is a human being, and he is a father, and he was very proud of his son. All I can tell you is I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I can hardly wait to see Charlie Woods play college golf. I can hardly wait to see Charlie Woods come out on the PGA Tour if he wants to. And I can hardly wait to see just exactly how his father talks about his son when he's in some commentary booth somewhere watching a golf tournament and seeing his son compete. Yeah, that was good. That put a smile on my face. I hope that did the exact same thing with you. This has been the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Make sure that you follow this broadcast. Give us those thumbs ups. Those are important. Support our advertisers. Go to Patreon if you want to throw a buck or two a month at this radio broadcast. Please do so. I'll see you again tomorrow. I'm going to start working on technical issues. I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Wells Report. God bless you. All right, my friends. Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Take care, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow, okay? Until then, be safe, make good decisions, all right?